Newsflash is that it takes you nowhere. The rocking chair, you just keep rocking, but you're not moving, you're not making any particular transition, not to any level. All right, this morning on the point of view, we're looking at ASUU. Before I came on air, I had a conversation with someone and I said, sometimes when we come up with most concerns, when at the point where we have the listener partake in the conversation, sometimes it appears most comments are targeted towards you, the presenter, and so some persons just feel we go to the same market, we're in the same country, at least up until I've not made a change in location yet. Okay, so we're affected advertently. Everybody's affected directly and indirectly, so it hurts, it sickens, it takes off positive energy. That's why I can say at this one. But because I have a job to deliver on, we're looking at ASUU. There was this headline this morning. In fact, besides the headline, I was in my bed this morning when I listened to a particular call. I was trying to do some get some updates on what's happening, and a lecturer actually called in and said, well, they were getting ready to go back to the farms. I tell you, I really don't know how far. If you know the cost of education, if you know what it costs. In fact, I remember those days in school, there were times where we had this phobia to go to school because we're like same routine every day. But we have students right now talking about the tertiary institutions. Basically, I know in I think Enugu State they have some primary school teachers that were on strike. I think primary, that's talking about education still. But let's deal. Our focus is on the tertiary education, where you have students seated back at home, and there's really, I don't envisage a resolve anytime soon. Well, I'm having a very long introduction this morning because we're going to look at it, looking at it from several angles. Well, we had the Minister of Education saying the students should sue ASUU. They couldn't borrow. We had the likes of Keyamo saying they couldn't borrow. We had the likes of David Umai saying they couldn't borrow to sort out ASUU. And it's like I said, it's taking positive energy off me. But we have Dr. Daniel, a senior lecturer at Uniben Mass Communication Department. He's been a regular on this platform as we look into ASUU, the deadlock. With, of course, their conversation with the federal government was deadlocked. So we're going to review that. And then what's the way forward? What's the way forward? Let's get connected with Dr. Daniel and get into the conversation ASAP. All right, it appears Dr. Daniel isn't very close to his mobile device, but nonetheless, we'll keep at it. But before we get connected with him, in view, of course, of the expanded primary, secondary, and tertiary educational systems, thousands of teachers, lecturers, professors. All right, we have him connected. Hello, sir.
Good morning.
A very good morning to you.
Good morning to you this morning.
I believe you had a good night rest.
Yes, I did.
Okay. I learned from various newspapers where it appears lecturers are going into the farms in not so distant time with regards to the seeming deadlock by ASUU and the federal government. Well, before you get into the conversation, let's start off this way. In view of the expanded primary, secondary, and tertiary educational systems, thousands of teachers, lecturers, professors in Nigeria ignorance is the cause of strikes in educational systems. Nigeria is a mopping and drifting nation without, it appears, this is from from an analyst, Francis Obimi. He's saying that Nigeria is a moping and drifting nation without direction. And so she does not know the growth and development of a nation and what it entails. In the circumstance, Nigeria does not know the role of education in national growth and development. Why would there not be strikes in her educational systems? We also have a philanthropist, Honorable Opeyemi Falion, who stated or who warned that the hardline posture of the striking ASUU and the federal government could have a dark consequence on the education system in Nigeria. Well, he opined and lamented that the strike has caused the student untoward hardship, hence the need for warring factions to sheath their swords and find a common ground. Now, let's talk about the deadlock proper as ASUU and federal government. Of course, we're going to look at several headlines that actually sprouted and emerged from that meeting this morning. Let's get your view on the deadlock, ASUU and the federal government.
Thank you for having me this morning. I will begin by telling Nigerians that when you're talking to a man who does not listen to your conversation, it is difficult for you to get a result out of it. It is true that parents have children at home who are eager to send their word back to school so that they can graduate. But the necessary question we should ask ourselves is, what are they coming to learn? That is the first question they should ask themselves. Number two, the person teaching the students, are they concerned about his welfare? My little experience as a teacher has taught me that any university where the lecturers are not well paid or not well taken care of, the level of productivity of the student is always very low.
Of course.
Why? Because the man who is supposed to teach them does not put his best into it. This is where the deadlock is. ASUU has made concessions over and over again. This is what many Nigerians do not know. For instance, this year, 2022, in the 2020 strike, one of the agreements with government was that, for instance, the issue of earn allowance, they told us that they were going to pay a part of it in 2021. The two tranches will be paid in 2022. This is August 2022. Why did they not pay the money? That is just an issue. You would have thought that following what happened in that government would keep faith with education. What we are not addressing is that we have a government that is recalcitrant. Year in year, they make promises. In the next minute, they turn their eyes against that promise. And you are dealing with intellectuals. You are dealing with people who design policies for government. There is nothing government does without consulting the eggs in the university system. If we are not relevant, why are they consulting us? So what I must tell you is that government is not ready to shift grant. For those who don't know, what we made as an offer or what we suggested when this conversation started, the committee said government cannot pay. We have shifted grant 2 times. The government is not ready to shift grant. The Minister of Education addressed Nigerians on Thursday and told us that they are making an offer. For those who attended that meeting, the reality is that they came with a sheet of paper, distributed it, and said ASUU should take, for those in the professorial cadre, full professors, they will give them a 30% increase. While those in the lower cadre from associate prof to a GA, they will give them a 25% increase. What they don't know is that in ASUU negotiations, if you are making an increment for salary, if you are using 10%, you'll be across board.
Okay.
If you are using 20%, you'll be across board.
Okay.
And we said that what they are offering is totally rubbish. Why is it rubbish? As of 2009, when this agreement was initially signed, there were 2 tables in the agreement. One was what was negotiated to be the salary. And government complained then that because we're just coming out of recession, the 2008 global recession, government said it cannot pay. So they offered the second table. Even the second table they offer as what they will pay on the interim They have not paid that money till today. What lecturers are earning is what the Obasanjo government offered when Obasanjo increased the salary of lecturers around year 2000. That is what lecturers are earning 20-something years ago. Even the 2009 agreement, they have not implemented anything about it. The content of that 2009 agreement stipulated that every 5 years. Now, government did not want to discuss the issue of the 2017. From 2017 to date, it is even till from 2017 till now that we have been able to reach a position on sitting down to agree on a chain. 2020 to 2021, Professor Muzaili Jubri, his committee made a recommendation to government. Government accepted this recommendation. When it was time for implementation, they threw it away. Why did I say this? That report was submitted May 2021. Government did not say anything about that report. January this year, when ASUU wrote to government that we're going to call a strike on this same matter, government did not respond. May this year, exactly 1 year when that report was submitted, government said they are not going to accept that Muzaili Jubri's committee recommendation on what should be the salary structure of lecturers in the university. What did they do? They discarded that report and set up a minimum breeze committee.
Yeah.
Remember, these committees we are talking about, government pays them city allowance. They don't do the job free. So the same government that set up a committee the last time, you did not consider that report to be good enough. You set up another committee. And what the Breeze Committee did is not totally different from what the Muzaili Jubri's committee did. What the Muzaili Breeze Committee did was just to do a little percentage increase on what Muzaili did based on the current economic situation. And this same government threw that away. And it's the same government that asked them to negotiate with us. All the principal agencies of government that does negotiation, that were involved in the negotiation, were all part of this. Only for them to wake up and say they cannot pay. Let me shock Nigerians. NNPC refineries, the one in Kaduna, the one in Warri, the two in Port Harcourt, they have not been working for years now. The workers, they are collecting millions of naira. Why have they not stopped their salaries? It is this same country. There was a review of the military salary structure. Before now, generals in the army had the same salary structure with professors. As I speak with you, they have to have over 500% increase, and they want lecturers to see accept peanut. So we have become a dangerous species. We are treated as people who have no stake in this country. Airline threatening to go on strike the other day.
Yeah.
Government borrow money to settle the issue so that they will not close the airports. Why? Because they are the ones that fly. Do you know what they're doing here? For us lecturers, the university system is our farm. That is where we go to work to earn our living. We will not allow this set of politicians who are failures in all respect to take over what is our lawful means of livelihood. You are asking a professor to earn less than 300,000. Even the percentage increase they told you about, if you take tax out of it, certain deductions out of it, the same professor will not take more than 400,000. Whereas in certain government agencies, that is the salary of an entry level. Why do we continue to treat teachers as people who are not human beings? Look at the different sectors of the economy. The engineers were produced by the lecturers.
Of course.
The medical doctors were produced by the lecturers.
Of course.
The lawyers were produced by the lecturers. Tell me the sector that lecturers have not created, the human beings, the human resource that this country needs for development. And we are treating them as nothing. Societies that don't value education cannot make progress. Bangladesh, Iran, Turkey, they have the same league with Nigeria as having a plan to improve on the educational sector. The annual budget for education in this country is over 20% every year. In Nigeria, since this administration came into office, it was only in 2015 that we had 8%. This year's budget is 4% of the total budget. That tells you their mind about education.
Oh.
And the minister was bold enough to say they have spent 2.5 trillion on education. They should tell us what aspect of education to spend those infrastructure on.
Okay.
We have asked them, let me just land.
Okay.
We have asked them that the visitation panel they said to all these universities, they should release their report. More than how many months when those panels submitted their report, government is still working on white paper. Do you know why? They decide the contractors from Abuja, who has the project in all these different universities. They determine the contractors. They determine the budget cost. We say put the paper before the public so that you can say it's also person that stole the money. Why are they afraid of doing that? Because the election has come. They know that members of the councils, government officials, top people in government are the contractors to these projects. They are not willing to release it. So for those who don't know, these are realities. Now you are aware that the US system now run what they call TSA. Everything goes to the central government. Government determines how this money is spent. So should we continue on this trajectory? And people are asking questions, schools abroad, they charge fees. Even in those countries where fees are charged, governments still provide a large percentage of the money they use in running those schools. Nigerians should wake up to the reality. If this system fails, there is no hope for our children.
Okay, well, it's on a sad note. You had to end that way. Well, the federal government actually insisted that it will not accede to the demand by the Academic Staff Union of Universities for their members to be paid the backlog of salaries, because we understand these were part of the issues. They are saying that they wouldn't accede the demand by ASUU for their members to be paid the backlog of salaries withheld over the ongoing strike, saying it is meant to be the penalty for their needless action. And still on that, we also have the Minister of Education advising students. In his words, he stated, we got that report last week on the 18th, Education Minister asked students to sue ASUU over 6 months strike. And this is where we are presently. What do you say with regards to the backlog of salaries and the permission given to students to sue ASUU? Let's just get your thoughts in about 5 minutes and then move on to other issues.
Okay, let's look at it this way. ASUU wrote to government November last year that we have demanded for a visitation panel to the university. You have not done that up till now. We have demanded that the Muzali Jubilees Committee be signed. Government kept quiet. November ended. December ended. January, until we called the 2-week strike in February. A warning strike to those issues. Government did not do anything. We called the strike. They waited for 3 months before they set up a committee to look at the issue. And when they set up the committee, they gave the committee 3 months. And we told them that the committee can do the work in 1 week. So the committee did the work in 3 months. After submitting the report, government took another 1 month to look at the content of that report. Who created the problem? Is it ASUU or government? That is one side of it. Number two, people seem so not to understand that the job of a lecturer is not only to teach. As I speak with you, I have more than 15 student transcripts, those who want to travel out, that I have been working on every day. I go to school to work, to prepare their transcript. I'm not being paid for doing that. I would have said we are on strike. They have said they will not pay. I said those of us who are able lecturers, if you go to the university, those guys in the security unit, they work day in, day out. You are saying you will not pay them. Number two, the job of a lecturer is to research. Because if you don't research, you will not be able to teach students. We have been researching. What of those who were giving PhD students to supervise, master students to supervise, like 10, 15, you are reading them, even while the strike is on. Even though you are not expected to do anything during the strike. Because you know when the student resume, the expectation is that you must attend to them. Is that not work? Teaching is just one part of the lecturer's job. What of those who have been going to present papers on issues? You research about those issues. People still want to know this, and they are saying they will not pay. A problem created by them. Even when they started all these things, we told them that all these issues about the strike, if we sit on the round table, we can resolve them in 3 days. That is the Nigeria system. Committees will be set up because the government side, those who attend those committees, they will collect city allowance.
Yes.
So is that the electoral's fault? If they say they will not pay, you heard what the national president said. The implication is that admissions will not be taken this year, students will not graduate. They will repeat the classes. If that is what they want.
Well, this isn't looking good. This isn't looking good.
I asked a question, I raised a point earlier. As NMPC, the refineries are not working. You hear every year that they spend billions for an organization that is not a company that is not working. But you are paying the workers there billions of naira. Not to talk about those of us who put productive hours into the work, even when the strike is on. They are telling us you will not pay. Who are they? I will shock you. The essay to the president who claimed to resign earns $1 million every month. Bashir, the one that was reappointed SSA again. Even when he claimed to resign, he has been earning his salary. We have people in government who provide us with information. You see, this government cannot take us for a ride.
Well,
if they don't want to pay, it means the school will not reopen. Let's stay at home until the new government will come and say they are ready to do the needful.
Well, this is going back and forth. It appears, I don't know if there's any, oftentimes there's the proverbial saying that there's light at the end of the tunnel. Right now, I cannot envisage any light. However, SANU NASU also suspends strike after meeting with Education Minister. The Senior Staff Association of Nigeria University, SANU, and the Non-Academic Staff Union of the Allied and Education Institutions, NASU, on Saturday suspended their strike actions after a brief meeting with the Minister of Education. Okay, we got that as an update. And there's been this little controversy before we get to out-of-school children and the figures and statistics that emerged. This is UNICEF doing its research. There's been this controversial statement coming, or rather, there's been credited to the presidential aspirant of the PDP. It also states that Atiku denies claims he would hand over federal universities to states. In brief words, actually, let's just get what you make of the claim on handing over federal universities to states and the benefits, if there is any at all.
Well, I cannot verify that statement by Atiku.
Okay.
States currently, there's only a state in Nigeria that does not have a university or two.
Yes. So
what is the level of funding of those universities that the federal government will hand over federal universities to states? Senami, you know what many Nigerians don't know? We have set of leaders who are not sincere about leadership. They don't know what it means to serve. Virtually everyone is interested in what they can acquire. And how much of this is they acquire do they really need? Look at, if you say you hand over federal universities to states, for a state like Edo currently has 2 state universities. You add a third one to it. One of the state universities, the oldest one, is currently having issues because of issues about funding, which has led to crisis in that university. The one in Yamo is making progress because it's running as if it's a private enterprise, so they charge high fees. So the student population there is not compared to what you have in Ambrosali. Now, against this backdrop, you want to give a bigger university like Uniben to the state. How will the state run it? Like I said, I think it's just maybe the man was quoted out of context, or the person who reported the story did not approach it from the right frame.
Okay.
Having said that, the UNICEF statement on the number of out-of-school children, the figures are subject to debate. You heard what the minister said, that it has reduced to 6.5 million, whether 6.5 or 10 million, whatever the figure may be. The reality is that a number of children are not in school. And once you have a large portion of children who don't have access to education, you are creating room for those set of children to become riffraff, and the criminals are going to find a future.
No doubt.
Because when they wake up in the morning, they're asking, what am I going to school? They don't have any skill set that they can use in competing with their mates. What they take it to is to crime. So, those we abandoned 20 years ago, they have become adults now, and you see the reality of insecurity in the country. Take a snippet of all the cases of arrests that have been made related to kidnapping, armed robbery, and all the rest. You realize that they are all young men in their 20s. Apart from one or two where you have elderly people coordinating them, majority of them are young people. The bandits you have been seeing online, they are not old men, they are young people. So this is the reality of a society that neglects education. I tell you the truth. Many of these guys think, I jokingly told a colleague, a senior colleague of mine, I said, if we are not careful the way we are going, you cannot go to your village anymore. And he was looking at me. I said, if you buy a big car, you tell me how you drive that car to the village, because boys are waiting out there for you. Once you call, they will swoop on you. I said, it's time for us to start thinking right and make this society better for all of us. If the society is better for all of us, we all enjoy the benefits of this society. The way if you corner the resources, punishing others, they will not sleep. That is what you're going to get from such a society.
As we're at the moment, we understand insecurity has taken over. In fact, the security architecture, in my words, I would say they are overwhelmed. I really don't want to deal with insecurity because that's the resultant effect of a lack of proper education. But on a sad note, like I stated, this report broke out yesterday as lecturers are resorting to farming and other jobs. That ASUU president speaking. He said that so many lecturers are leaving to engage in farming and others. Lecturers are tired of the treatment they are receiving from the government, and because of this, they are looking for alternatives. So many more will leave even after the strike too. And he's saying, I pity the country. Nigeria will be the loser for it. Instead of coming to the table, look at how they will solve the issue rather they believe in punishing lecturers. It is so sad. Your lecturers went on strike. You believe they will become hungry and come back to beg. Many lecturers will also leave to venture into other areas. Some are also looking at becoming self-employed. What is the resultant effect if at this point ASUU or speaking Professor Emmanuel speaking has actually stated that lecturers were resorting to farming and every other or other jobs in the country or outside the country? What does this portend in a democratic system, in a nation? They say a fool at 40. There's this regular saying, is a fool forever. But we've gone past 40. We're in our 60s now, Nigeria, as a country. Where are we? How did we get here? What can we do? What are the alternatives for our children yet unborn? We're not even necessarily considering or looking at the present generation of those unborn. What does this hold? What does this portend? The danger involved, the merit, or you could say the demerits. Let's look into this finally before we get the audience to be part of the conversation.
The result is the implication is very clear. Number one, lecturers are taking into farming, other little ventures because you are not being paid. You need to survive. They have families to take care of. And those who don't have a means of getting access to land or other means of doing little business, they have resorted into borrowing. But you know that is not sustainable.
Yes.
Now, the reason why the president said that is that over the years, government keeps reneging on his promise to education. And you now ask yourself, is this how you are going to raise your own children? What the millions of Nigerians do not know is that these people are giving themselves and their cronies private university licenses. I doubt if there's any private university that charges less than 400,000 in this country. And you know, in these schools in question, students are not allowed to cook. They buy food to eat. So if you put it on the average, if you send your child to a private university, you'll be spending average of 600,000 in a semester, or 600, 700,000 in a year. Now, is it the tomato seller who has struggled to send his child to a public university that will have the capacity to do that?
Wow.
So when public university fails, and men and women who want to be lecturing in this university take it to other jobs, what you're going to find is that the private university will take over, and only the very rich or the average rich in Nigerians will be able to afford such education. And if you don't have education, you will serve the rich. It is those who have money that set up big organizations that expect people to work for them.
Yes.
So for thousands and millions of our people who are looking at it as if it's a fight between ASUU and government, not the public fight, it will all turn around. It will get to all of us. Where we have a situation, you cannot send your child to school. Look at what they are doing. Their children go to the best universities in the world because they stole our commonwealth to do all of this. And what do you get from it? When they come back, they fix them in the big organizations in Nigeria where they have big salaries. Tell me how many of the governors are ready to let their children lecture? Because lecturers earn peanuts. But you hear that it is working in so big organization where the monies are. That is the reality. So when your critical resource you need to sustain your education is lost, it means there is no future for that education. The second implication of this is that thousands and millions of Nigerians who are from below average families will find the future very difficult. They will struggle very hard to meet up with the very rich in this society. Look at these people in government. Many of them were beneficiaries of
free
government
education.
scholarship.
Yes.
Many of them were beneficiaries of missionaries' goodwill.
Exactly.
But they have acquired everything now. They have turned against the system that made them. This is why we are where we are. So there is no future if we kill this system. There is no future. That is just the implication.
Well, go ahead. Just wrap up on your thoughts so we could get the listener to be part of the conversation.
So what we need to do is to start engaging in government. And the idea of telling you there is no money, we don't want to accept that. You know, the governor of Ebonyi State came out the other day to say government cannot borrow 1 trillion.
Yes.
We don't know where he got those figures from. But he was saying that in one month, his son was graduating in University of Surrey in the UK. That's true. Is that not hypocrisy of the highest order?
That's true.
Now, this same government gave $1 trillion to Afghanistan. This same government, you have heard the other day that 80 billion that was used in clearing grants, they could not account for the voucher because timers have eaten the vouchers in government office.
Yeah.
The other day, they released 400 billion for trader money. I don't know how many people in Anambra State where you operate from have benefited from the trader money. The other day, you heard that government released 200 billion. They keep releasing the billions for those things that we cannot verify. But when it comes to education, they will tell you we don't have money. And the minister told you they have spent 2.5 trillion in education. Let us go around the schools to cross-check the projects they have done. If we can get 2 trillion out of those projects.
All right. At this point, Dr. Daniel, he's a senior lecturer with Uniben Mass Communication Department. He's been our guest. I'd say you just take a break, sit back, and listen to the audience. I'll get back to you, of course, to summarize on the thought, and then let's find out if we could get an escape route or a solution to all of this. I'll be back shortly.
Dial 081-5101-7777 and 090-7112-1017. Please make your submissions known in a civilized manner. Put off emotional and all ethno-religious sentiments. Make verifiable claims on this platform. Respect the views of other callers, and 2 minutes is given to every caller. Each person is entitled to only one call to enable others to participate. Point of view, airing your views for the transformation of our society.
All right, at this point, would get the audience to be part of the conversation. 0815-1017-777. And of course, you can follow us on our social media handles: Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Social, Instagram at Omega 101.7. But let's talk to someone first. Hello? 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 Okay, I'm sorry. I don't know why I can't hear you. Hello?
Good morning.
A very good morning to you.
Thank you. This is Chiwende calling from Akoko.
Go ahead.
At this point, I want what I have to give is an advice, because the truth is that the government of the day knows what to do. It's just because of greedy or selfish interest. That's the reason why they are doing nothing about the issue of ASUU. So my advice to ASUU is this, because these very issues are affecting us right now. And not only that it's affecting us now, it will soon affect us the more. So because it affects including me, I want to give this advice. Please, this is my advice to ASUU. If there is any possibility, if there is any need, we can organize a peaceful protest in the whole Nigeria. I mean, even if it is called civil disobedience in the entire Nigeria, to make sure that the government of the day provide your needs, please, is very, very important. Because to me, I know that they know what to do, and the money to solve your issue is in their hand. Based on the money that are just giving names. This money, gold issue, this money, calling a billion of naira, just as we have already narrated. What we need is either civil disobedience or general peaceful protest in the whole Nigeria.
Okay. All right, we have also Francis on our Facebook page watching live from Amagunze. He's saying in Enugu State, prior to the deadlocks that has been hitting ASUU and the federal government over the ongoing ASUU strike, we really need divine intervention, because what is so hard to man, it's very possible with God. Both federal government and ASUU should not relent in the dialogue. May God help us. Thank you so much. Hello? Hello?
Hello.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning, my sister Dako.
A very good morning to you.
I'm sure you are hearing me.
Of course, loud and clear.
God bless you this morning.
You too.
And bless your guest on radio.
Yes.
I still remember my humble self, Mr. Maggot Man, calling from Umesh, my hometown, in the South Nigeria. Like I also observed in the morning, 18 million Nigerians out of school, and then lecturers on strike without payment because of non-payment of their salaries and their entitlement. Well, we have made that mistake in 2011, and then repeated it in 2015. We're not going to do it again. The only hope and alternative we have is 2023, and that is when every Nigerian must be obedient. Education is the key to success of every nation on earth. Take away education and you see a nation that is dead and cannot do anything. So for me, let the lecturers remain on strike. Let the strike continue.
resolve, a firm resolve at that. Well, let's talk to someone here, and I'll get back to our Facebook page. Hello.
Hello, good morning, Dr.
A very good morning to you, sir.
Yeah, my name is Menchi Olibo Charles C.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, my dear sister. What the lecturer has said is glaring. In fact, I'm looking where I am now. I'm so like many other billions of Nigerians who are suffering the effect of what you are seeing today in Nigeria as our leaders. What has led us to this point, like you have always said? How did we come to this point? How did we come to this shameless, brazen human being who has no state party, no atom of this in their mind? They send their children overseas. And we know that is happening. Look at how we have to know that a governor who is there talking, making a noise, has his children in UK, and he's here thinking that we can always be their servants. They have said it all. What are we going to talk? It's only I happen to have many people who have their minds to understand what is happening in Nigeria. What are we going to add with the listeners? So I've had it all. The truth is glaring. So the time to act is now. Because some group of people are trying to hijack this nation for their own selfish ends. For 60 years, and Nigeria is still crumbling like a child, a lame child. It's unfortunate. What are we going to say? It's unfortunate. Let the whole world continue to laugh.
Take this morning is that let the government the government should, as a matter of urgency, find a lasting solution to this lingering industrial action by ASUU so that students can go back to school. Thank you, Ibuka. Hello.
Good morning, Daku.
A very good morning to you, sir.
Jonathan Onyem is my name. I come from Obuka in Uzumba, South of Anambra.
Go ahead, sir.
Daku, this is a very disturbing matter. Well, I don't blame Buhari because his people said that they don't want a Western education, and that is the meaning of Boko Haram. And some of the Malami, what do you call the Minister of Education? All of them being the people who pass through Western education, and they are now answering professors. What have you? Now they are showing us that what their people claim is truth. Because if they want to refute what their people have said, automatically they will tell them that Western education brought everything to mankind to live and to survive. So let us wait for 2023. And I want to tell the lecturer in the studio, he has done well. He has explained well. He has finished everything about this ASUU strike. And what we are going to do is to back them. My daughter is in the school waiting for no just cause. But somebody is somewhere in a health condition laughing at people. He said that he's caring for. So let us base on prayers so that God will.
All right, thank you so much. I'll take one more call and read through the text messages. Hello?
Hello, good morning, Omega FM.
A very good morning to you, sir.
I'm Chima. I'm calling from Ishalamba, Imo State.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, this topic, the lecturer is good morning, sir.
He can hear. Go ahead.
Yeah. The topic has been interesting. This is very important for having you in that studio. The fact is that people don't seem to know the importance of education. When you are talking, education is life. It's not even only the bedrock, but it's about life. Look, if they have an idea what development is, I don't know why our institution should compare us. Our lecturers is not right for the past 6 months. It's outrageous. It's very ridiculous. Where in the world has this thing happened? Because their countries develop advanced like Japan. South Korea, China. It's education that made them what they are. In my time, I wonder even if they did other literature or if they did this, they have got their certificates and find their way in government houses. If they know what they are doing, they are doing it as destiny. Because alternative to crude oil is because alternative to crude oil. If they learn that the science people, what science and technology, which is the essence of development, what physics, chemistry, and lab editions are, they should be, this what the money is about. So I don't blame the Nigeria, what is going on, this madness that is going on. It's the world. What is happening in Nigeria? Have you had any part or has it ever happened in anywhere in this world? And yet the world maintain criminals and they don't want to talk. Everything has fallen apart and the center is no more holy. They say they don't want Western education. Yes, they wear clothes. They drive flashy cars. These are not they fly themselves abroad. Even beside that, what the quality of what.
All right, you have used up your time. I have to read some messages. This one from Achipa from Oji Riva saying federal government and ASUU need to do something about education because any nation without suitable education has nothing to offer their children. That shows that their offspring has nowhere to go. Federal government, please think twice and listen to ASUU. Please remember that change comes through our PVC. If you don't have your PVC, you won't see the change. May God help us. That's Achipa. Right. And we have Ima saying, Ima is saying the government is a government built on lies. Buhari is saying that he will not pay ASUU. This is because none of his children is in any Nigerian federal uni. If he has a child there, he will pay ASUU. He's owing ASUU, and yet he bought a vehicle for Niger Republic, which they denied receiving. He is so okay. All right, be very courteous with your messages. Let's see. We have another one here. This one here from Woswemson Diawai saying, honestly, we have leaders that don't believe in education and our education system. The federal government is not sincere in their dealings with ASUU. This prolonged ASUU and federal government crisis will lead to mass exodus of lecturers to greener pastures and subsequent brain drain. True, our children are left to roam about aimlessly and contribute to the general insecurity in the country. The federal government should please listen to the yearnings of the masses and reach a concrete agreement with ASUU and reopen our universities. We have suffered and endured enough and have no other alternative than to resort to violence. We shouldn't, anyways. Is that really what the federal government wants? Federal government to avoid this impending doom and do the obvious before it's too late. Wonsu MC Ndiawa, actually, I'm sorry, I can't take any other call. It's time to All right, it appeared the network actually took him off, but let's try and find out if we can get him shortly. So we would summarize on the conversation this morning, ASU and federal government. It's hard to say, in your day and in your time, you can say this happened. But not to worry, there was something Achuka said about our PVC. The change we talk about, it really would be mere rhetoric if you don't have your PVC. Come 2023, I say this often, see you at the polls. We must get it right, and right collectively. We would collectively effect the change we talk about on a daily. I really do know what's happening. He suddenly isn't taking the calls, but at this point, we've said it all. Okay, at some point, some persons wanted to get emotional, but I'd say this: education is the passport to the future. For tomorrow, of course, belongs to those who prepare for it today. All right, but let's take this last message on our Facebook page from Izina Benedict, vibrating from Akbo. He's saying, ASUU meeting with federal government ends in deadlock. I laugh. Why wouldn't it end in deadlock? We have been saying that this present administration are insensitive to the plight of Nigerians, especially the students. Since we're now borrow country, federal government borrows every now and then to finance other things or the other, one thing or the other. Why can federal government borrow money and pay these university lecturers? None of their children is schooling in this university. That is one of the reasons they are less concerned. But like I said, my last word on the program this morning remains that education is our passport to the future. For tomorrow really belongs to those who prepare for it today. Do have a good morning.